Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're taking a journey through a highly engineered, fully automated, multi-stage processing facility that literally exists right inside of you. Yep, we're talking about the human gastrointestinal tract. We're going to take a complete chronological tour of this absolute architectural marvel, tracing the exact path your food takes from that very first mouth-watering moment all the way to, well, waste.
All right, let's dive right in. And to kick things off, check out this truly surprising number, 30 to 40%. You see, digestion actually starts before a single crumb even touches your lips. Crazy, right? Just looking at or smelling an appetizing meal tricks your brain into sending these powerful signals. Your mouth starts watering, your stomach preps its juices. In fact, a massive 30 to 40% of the gastric juices you need for proper digestion are produced in this preliminary pre-bite phase.
To put our entire tour into perspective, we need to look at the big picture timeline. For a healthy adult, the complete trip from mouth to anus takes anywhere from 24 to 72 hours. So, everything we're about to explore happens within this very specific, highly regulated window of time.
So, that brings us to our first major architectural zone, Section 1, the initial bite, where we look at preparation and the oral cavity. The mouth is where the magic really begins, both mechanically and chemically. When you're chewing, you're mechanically mixing your food up with saliva, and this perfectly shows off the dual purpose of our internal chemistry. That saliva is loaded with amylase, which is an enzyme that immediately starts chemically breaking down starches. And at the exact same time, this whole mixing process is being heavily lubricated by something called mucin. It's this super slippery protein found right in your saliva that makes everything go down smooth.
Now, the speed of these early stages is just wild. Think about it. You spend maybe 30 to 60 seconds chewing a mouthful of food. Then, the swallowing reflex in your pharynx takes a mere 1 to 3 seconds. Blink and you miss it. After that, rhythmic muscular contractions in your esophagus take over. For your average bite of food, it takes just 5 to 8 seconds of transit time to travel all the way down into the stomach. It's a seriously lightning-fast delivery system.
And what's really fascinating here is the physical form shift your food goes through. Just before it makes that rapid drop down the esophagus, your tongue actually shapes the food into a tiny little ball. The official term for this is a bolus. So it's this exact shape, the bolus, that gets pushed to the very back of your mouth right before those involuntary muscles force it downward.
Next up, our delivery arrives at its first heavy-duty processing facility. Section 2, mixing in the stomach, or as we can call it, the chyme factory. Inside the stomach, that bolus gets hit with some seriously intense gastric juice. Through these incredibly strong, unrelenting muscle contractions, your stomach actively breaks the food down, morphing it into something completely new. This is our second major form shift. The bolus transforms into chyme, which is this thick, milky material. And this heavy-duty mixing, it takes time. Completely emptying the stomach of this new chyme takes anywhere from 2 to 6 hours.
But here's the thing. Your stomach doesn't just dump all this chyme at once. At the very bottom of the stomach, there's a valve called the pyloric sphincter, and its timing is just impeccable. Roughly every 20 seconds, it slowly ejects just a tiny, controlled amount of chyme right into the next phase of our assembly line.
Which leads us to Section 3, the small intestine. You can think of this as the 3 to 5 hour absorption zone.
Honestly, the small intestine is an absolute masterpiece of biological design. It's packed with all these complex folds, villi, and microvilli, all perfectly engineered to massively maximize the surface area for absorption. Chyme hangs out here for about 3 to 5 hours, getting maximum exposure to crucial enzymes. And this zone is divided into 3 sequential steps. You've got the duodenum, the jejunum, and finally the ileum.
Let's start with the first step, the duodenum. Remember those tiny bursts of chyme dropping in every 20 seconds? Well, when they arrive here, they are instantly mixed with some highly specific fluids secreted from your pancreas and gallbladder. These secretions are absolutely loaded with bicarbonate, powerful enzymes, and bile salts. And you absolutely need all of these to keep the complex chemical breakdown of that chyme going strong.
As we travel further along into the jejunum, peristaltic waves, basically muscular ripples, keep the chyme moving forward. In this section, those tiny finger-like structures we called villi use their massive surface area to absorb the end products of digestion straight into your bloodstream. By the time the chyme reaches the final stretch, the ileum, the heavy lifting of breaking down carbs, proteins, and fats is pretty much done. The ileum's main job is just to finish up that last bit of absorption and, super importantly, release the hormones that tell your brain, hey, we're full.
All right,
Once all those nutrients are extracted, the leftovers move into section 4, the colon fermentation station. This is where your bacteria really get to work.
Once we hit the colon, things slow way down. The fast-paced action we saw earlier shifts gears. Slower, steady movements push the undigested food forward, mixing it right in with your body's resident bacterial population. And these bacteria dive right in, fermenting whatever food is left. Here is the key takeaway, though. This fermentation process isn't just waste management. It actually creates vital chemicals your body desperately needs, like short-chain fatty acids and essential nutrients like vitamin K.
Now, as this material makes its way into the sigmoid colon, we get to witness the third massive form shift of our journey. Remember how we started this section with liquid chyme arriving from the small intestine? Well, by the time it reaches the sigmoid colon, that liquid has transformed into a semi-solid state, which we call stool. The sigmoid colon basically acts as a temporary storage unit for this stool until it's time for a mass movement.
So, how long does this semi-solid stuff stay parked in your colon? Well, it can vary wildly depending on the person and what they ate, anywhere from 4 hours all the way up to 72 hours. But on average, a normal residence time is right around exactly 36 hours.
And that brings us to the very end of our architectural tour. Section 5, Digestion and the rectum, the final exit.
Eventually, a mass movement triggers, dropping the stool from the sigmoid colon right down into the rectum. The mechanics here are entirely driven by pressure. As the rectum fills up, its walls stretch, and it's that literal physical stretching that gives you the urge to defecate. The external opening, your anus, is controlled by a specialized set of muscles. Interestingly enough, if you hold it in and inhibit this process, that urge will actually fade away, only to return a few hours later once the system recalibrates itself. Okay, now that we've finished the chronological tour, let's jump into Section 6, Fascinating Digestive Facts. I really want to connect all these biological mechanics we just talked about directly to your own personal health metrics. Just take a second to think about the physical processing capacity of our internal plumbing. Your stomach comfortably holds about 1 to 1.5 liters of food, but it's insanely elastic. If it really needs to, it can expand to hold a massive 2 to 4 liters. Moving down, your small intestine might not hold much at any single moment, but over the course of a day, it physically processes an unbelievable 6 to 12 liters of liquid and food. And the colon? It easily has the capacity to store several pounds of stool, usually holding a few pounds right before elimination.
So, what does a healthy output from all this heavy-duty processing actually look like? Well, a healthy body typically removes around 300 grams of waste. Structurally speaking, it should be soft, full size, and roughly 4 to 8 inches long. And here is a huge tip based purely on our biological mechanics. All throughout the tract, it's the constant push from the back that keeps everything moving forward smoothly. Maintaining that forward momentum is the exact secret to resolving common, annoying issues like constipation, gas, and bloating.
But to keep that momentum going, you gotta supply your internal factory with the right raw materials. Your daily food intake target really needs to be around 500 grams on a dry basis, and that has to include a solid amount of fiber. Why? 3 crucial reasons. First, for the basic raw nutrition. Second, to give your system the physical bulk it needs to fill up the tract and keep that forward-pushing momentum going. And third, to literally provide food for those hardworking microbes down in your colon.